Hey, how's it going, everybody? Welcome back to episode 8 of Beta Breakdown. There's been a lot happening. I've been putting these episodes out more than once a week, and there's a lot to go over this time. Not sure how long this is going to take, but I want to make sure we have time to talk about each thing that's important. So today, there's a new hero for the, what's it called? The Summer Sands event, I think. The once a year seasonal summer event currently has Rana and Yunin as the 5 stars, and there is another hero joining them. There were some changes to the balance buffs that were added that came simultaneously with the Vela and Tellurian nerfs. There's not a new version of the Vela and Tellurian nerfs yet. It will probably come out the day I post this because I cannot seem to keep up with all these things. So hopefully you don't mind these not being immediate, just because it seems impossible to predict when changes are going to come. So just doing my best here to present this information to you guys. Perhaps most excitingly, there is a concept for the Hero Academy in beta right now. So we're definitely going to talk about that. I can't remember how long it's been since they first teased it, but I think it's been over a year, has it been? I think it's either like 300 or 500 days that I saw someone keeping count of when this feature was first teased, and then now when it's finally made it to beta. So it's long overdue. So we'll definitely talk about that. The other thing is there is a nerf to the Alchemy Lab, which I feel like Small Giant is intentionally trying to put themselves out of business sometimes. I cannot understand why they are piling more fuel on this fire of frustration and vitriol towards them. I just can't understand that. But they have decided to add another nerf to the most hated building in the entire game. So we'll talk about that as well. So let's talk about the new hero first. Seems like a good place to start. Something that is exciting before we get into maybe some potentially more disappointing things to be determined. So they're adding only one new hero, which is interesting. This is a pretty light pool in terms of heroes. I guess the Christmas portal is the smallest pool of heroes that I can think of off the top of my head. So there will be 3 5-stars in there. Yunin, the green sort of tank hero. Rana, not really sure what role she's intended to fit. And then another holy hero, Rock, I'm assuming is how that's pronounced. So they not all of them, but a lot of the event heroes, or is it just the seasonal heroes? They tend to follow like a theme. Like the Easter heroes all have a detrimental effect, usually coupled with a really good effect. Like the effect is so good they have to have the detrimental effect with it. The sand heroes, their thing is like the sand damage and usually blocking healing, and this hero is no different, so it's kind of a twist on that same theme. So we have an attack of 762, which is strong. Defense of 739, which is good. HP of 1361, also good. Barbarian class, so there's a lot of competition there. Not really one of the better classes in my opinion. I think it's not strong enough of an effect to be as desirable as some of the others like Fighter or Monk or some of those others. I guess Ranger is pretty good too. Fast speed. Special skill is Sand Cyclone. All enemies receive 366 damage over 3 turns. This likely is a factor of the attack stat, and with emblems, I think this could go up. I should mention at this point too that all these things can change. This hero is in beta now, which is the place where they test and change things and hopefully get the balance right before they release them, but we know how that goes sometimes. So, usually when there's a fixed amount of damage like that, like with Gravemaker or with Vela or Jean-Francois, it is a certain percentage of their attack stat, and as the attack stat increases with troops and emblems, the number on the card will change as well. So this could be potentially even higher. All enemies get minus 50% decrease for any healing received for 2 turns. This effect can't be dispelled, and then dispels status ailments from all allies. So we finally have another fast cleanse in the 5-star category. I think Zimkitha was the only fast 5-star cleanse, so that is a great ability in and of itself. Sort of like a Jean-Francois style damage with the addition of the decreased any healing. So I think this is a strong hero, especially depending on what the competition is for your barbarian emblems. This is a good candidate hero for barbarian emblems because, like I said, the damage over turn can increase as that attack stat increases with emblems. So I imagine we're going to be seeing some changes here. This seems like a lot of damage, especially once you add in the defensive attack bonus and the emblems and things like that. So I think we're going to see some changes. The non-dispellable 50% decrease to healing is nice, especially coupled with the dot damage. This is kind of a nice pairing, and then a cleanse in there for good measure. Like, you can never say no to a cleanse at fast speed. So I think this is a cool hero. No heroes worth chasing. These have a summoning percentage of 1.5% for the legendary, 5.7 for the 4 stars. I don't think there are any new 4 stars. I think they're just adding this one hero, but I'll double check on that. And then 14.2% for the 3-star. And then you also have the chance for the classic heroes as well. They've also, with all the event refreshes that they've done this year, they've added the family bonus. Since there only are... I don't know why this is only showing for 2 and 3 heroes, because you could potentially be using 4 stars and 5 stars on the same team. So I don't know why. I haven't seen that before where they've limited that, but it's a plus 10% or plus 20% increase to defense, whether you have 2 or 3 of them. And also, usually I feel like the family bonuses are 2 things. So this is a little weird, and maybe this is one of the things that continues to change as this goes on. But that is another hero that is upcoming. Hopefully we'll have the July Hero of the Month soon as well that we can talk about, but let's move on to the next piece. So let's check back in on the balance updates. They had like the nerf section and then the balance update section where they were going to be buffing some heroes at the same time. They haven't really been tracking this in the same way they have been the nerfs, where there have been discrete versions. So let's just look at what the most up-to-date list is that I see. Again, I can't keep track of what is changed and what has not changed. So let's just go through this list together and just see where everything is at right now. So Margaret, the damage is not new, but she deals 150 to the target and nearby enemies. She's at very fast speed, so that's decent. The increased minimum dodge probability went from 20% to 30%. Guardian Kong, they added a dispel status ailments from all allies, which is pretty interesting. He is not a great hero in my opinion. Some people may like him, but his defensive stat is so low that he's sort of hard to keep around. Guardian Owl has been sort of going back and forth. They had increased his attack, and then they got rid of that. They had decreased his defense, and then they got rid of that. The direct damage is increased from 235 to 280, and then damage increased for dead ally decreased from 60% to 50%. So those are, I would agree that those are balanced changes, some positive, some less positive. Queen of Hearts, HP inherited from minions increased from 13 to 16%, so that's nice. Atomos, the change to average speed is something we already covered. Kagan, they increased his damage and then they took it away again, which is sort of weird. He is one of the most lackluster heroes in my opinion. It's just really unfortunate that he's at slow speed, because it's so hard for him to have much of an impact, because he's pretty squishy like a lot of the season 1 heroes are. Like Asarnia at slow speed, she can have a big impact, but she is pretty weak compared to newer heroes now. Horcall also not a well-regarded hero. They raised his damage and took it away again, so I don't know what the feedback from beta was. Maybe these changes, like, it's hard to look at them on paper and know how they translate, but it's possible that these were over the top, maybe. Again, it's hard to put myself in that state of mind, but that's at least one possibility, because it's hard to look at the list and know what's happening. Gobbler, I don't think has changed from the last time we talked. Gormek, they tried tweaking him to increase his attack but decrease his HP. They ended up bringing that back to how it was before. So this is sort of a weird. This is weird. I guess there's no other way to say it. This is really weird how much they're just diving in here to tweak a bunch of things. So I don't know what their data is. I'm sure this is a company that collects a ton of data on hero usage from their servers. So it's anyone's guess what's actually going on, but these are the latest updates on those balance changes. So looking at the Alchemy Lab, there is a lot that is changing. I don't know how many people are actually using this building. I have not bothered with it at all. So let me know if you guys actually have any interest in this, because from what I've seen, people seem to think this building is a total flop and have no real interest in it. So if you want me to do a video focusing on the potential of this building and what it can offer, let me know and I can consider doing that. But there are way too many changes to cover. So some of the basics are they're increasing the amount of recipes from 10 to 20. It looks like they're removing gem costs unless you're using gems to skip. You can no longer have 3 simultaneous transmutations going at the same time. It used to be that if you had the building up to level 10, you could have 3 of these things going at the same time, and they seem to have reduced that down to 1. They changed the way the Alchashard stuff works, so there seems like a mix of things that are good and things that are bad. It's kind of unfortunate that you can only have 1 active transmutation at a time, but they've lowered, like, every time you do a transmutation, you gain Alchashards, and you can use Alchashards in some fashion to get the ascension items that you might be trying to get. So they've reduced the amount of Alchashards required. It looks like it used to be 10,000 for some feature, and they reduced it to 1,000. Yeah, but there's like tons and tons. Like, I can scroll for like 20 seconds on the page. So I'm not going to get too much deeper into it than that, because I don't really think that many people are actually using this. So my suspicion is they're trying to make this a building that people can get practical use out of and don't just hate. Like, I don't think they want to have any feature that people think is just stupid and pointless. But it does feel like every time they try to do that, there's some not so great things at the same time. Like the costume chamber, people are like, what the hell? I get a costume and I don't have the hero, so I can't even use it. Like, what's the point of drawing something with such a low probability just to not even be able to use it? So their answer to that was to give you the hero with it, but to raise the cost at the same time. So in that case, that seems fair. And in this case, you'll have to decide for yourself, or like I said, if you want, I can do a video talking about the Alchemy Lab and try to digest some of these changes. But once I started scrolling through this, I was like, holy shit, there's a lot going on here. And like I said, I've not messed with this at all, so out of my element. But let's look at what people are most interested in here, which is the Hero Academy. Okay, so there's a lot to cover here, and it's worth mentioning that, like I've said before, this stuff is subject to change. It is in beta, which means it's actively being tested, and it is likely that it will change in some way. So we can hope it's for the better, but best not to get our hopes up one way or the other. This is just to give you, since this is the first iteration that's landed here, this is to give you the rough idea of what the sort of theme is to this building. So let's just talk through this stuff together. You have to have stronghold level 25, which is going to cost 2.5 million iron, or 2,591,000 iron. So you have to make sure that your iron storages are high enough that that level is possible, and it's going to take 12 days and 19 hours. So I looked at this briefly the other day, and to get to the point of being able to retrain a 5-star hero into another one, which is level 10 of the building, it would take you like two months, like 9 weeks or something like that, to be at the point of just being able to do that. Because I don't even know if I factored in the wait time for the stronghold into that. Like, it's ridiculous how long it's going to take for this to actually be usable, which is crazy because I know that my roster is bursting right now with all these duplicates and I'm not sure what to do with them. So temper your expectations on how soon you'll actually be able to be using this stuff, because it will not be soon. So if we look at the upgrade time and research costs for the different levels, you can see what is on the different levels. So it is functioning similar to a training camp, where you can, the first 6 levels are, as far as I'm aware, are not the troops. The first 5 levels are all things that are available in the training camp, but these have different costs. So we'll look at those costs in a second. But you can see these research costs. The upgrade costs go from 2,610,000 up to 2,748,000, which is significant. And the research cost goes from 3,148,000 up to 3,311,000 food, which is insanity. I don't even have my, oh my god, so that's the other things. I don't even have my food storage is close to that level. So this is probably going to be like 3 to 4 months from the time this is released to actually being usable for me personally. I know some people are further along, and then for other people it's going to take even longer than it will for me. So bear that in mind. It's a little bit disappointing. And the upgrade times are as much as 12 days. So when you start adding all this stuff together, it's significant. So the new stuff is level 6 through 10, which is you can train rare troops, which are 3-star troops, trainer heroes, which we'll talk about a little more further on down the page here, epic heroes, retrain epic troops, and retrain legendary heroes. So if you see the word retrain, it means that you're not creating it from scratch, but you're taking a version you already have and trying to turn it into something else. And with regard to those two, it's random. So we'll talk about that more in a second here. So if we look at the first 5, what do you call this, recipe, sort of, you can see like the train common heroes, 2 practice swords, 2 training manuals, level 2, 3 daggers, level 3, strong rope. So there's just like different recipes for the same thing, and some of them are really fast, like the train common heroes. I don't remember what the cost is in the training camp, but I'm pretty sure it might also be, I think it uses rugged clothes instead. I think it also costs 5,000 food and uses 1 or 2 recruits. So I don't know how appealing any of these will be, but you can look at these for yourself and see if this seems like something you'll want to use. It kind of just feels like filler that you have to level through to get to the stuff you want, since these advanced buildings always have 10 levels. So you can train rare troops, which is nice, but it's using resources that are somewhat rare, depending on how long you've been playing, like tall boots and scabbards, and 5 of each, which is wild, and 5 days wait time with 151,000 food and 150 recruits. None of these are really that appealing to me. These costs seem really high. And then the trainer heroes, you can see the note here that they've received 1 star up to 4 star, and it appears to be random. The food costs are lower, but that's a lot of resources, 5 of each of those things. So this is feeling a little bloated to me in terms of cost, and hopefully that is changed for the better. Training epic heroes with the stuff people care about are the last two. So training epic troops from old troops, which means you have to take a 4-star troop you have already, put in 1,203,000 food, 200 recruits, and the 1 4-star troop, and in 7 fucking days it will turn it into another troop, which may be of no use to you, and you could just have to be chasing this around in circles for weeks, depending on what it is you're looking for. And the fact that you can't create them from nothing is, I guess it makes sense, but it's annoying. Train legendary heroes, and this is going to include season 1 heroes and old heroes of the month. We'll look at that list in a second. 2,318,000 food. So if you're leveling a lot like I am, that's prohibitively expensive. So I feel like I don't know what I'm going to do yet, if I'm going to use this thing or not. 300 recruits and 7 days. Levels 1 through 8, you can queue up a bunch of them in a row, similar to the training camps now, but levels 9 and 10 cannot be queued. Let's see. They also cannot be canceled once they're started, levels 9 and 10. And they can be skipped with gems. So what a surprise there, right? We're not sure what the cost of that is going to be, because in beta it's only set to 1 gem so people can test it. So here is the list of the heroes of the month that will be included in this possibility, and you can see it looks pretty familiar. And it's a pool of heroes that we're going to be seeing this Friday in the Tavern of Legends. So we don't know what the rates of appearance are between, like, I'm sure the hero of the month thing is going to be like, oh god, I hope it's not like a 1% chance, because that would just be cruel. But you'd put in a 5-star that you have, and it appears that season 2, season 3, and event heroes are not treated any differently. I had hopes that they would be like, okay, this is an event hero, so you have a chance at other event heroes, but it seems like that's not the case. The only pool of resultant heroes you can get are season 1 5 stars or any of the retired heroes of the month on this list. So that is pretty disappointing, because if you have duplicates from other places that are arguably much more valuable than season 1 heroes, well, they're telling you that they're not any more valuable than season 1 heroes, and you could turn one of those into a Horghall, for example, and then have to put Horghall back in and again keep chasing this thing around in circles. So they say that, like the training camps, which don't show what the rates you're working with, like any of the portals, you can click the little I in the circle, the letter I in the circle in the upper left usually, and it will tell you what the rates are that you're working with. The training camps do not, and this does not as well in its current form. Once started, cannot be canceled, and there's a warning about that at this time. And then, like I said, it can be skipped with gems. So that's what we have right now. I'm hoping this changes, because this is not appealing to me. Like, I guess if you've got the resources and you've got the time, you can just keep popping heroes in, hoping to sift through that hero of the month list and hope that you get someone that you actually care about. But it seems like a lot of tail chasing to me, just going around in circles, hoping. I mean, there are good heroes on that list. Evelyn, Onatel, Frida, Drake, Gravemaker, Zemkeitha, Lacey, Zelene, Albie, Hell. Like, there are good heroes on there. Not to say the ones I listed are not good, but I feel like the ones that I said are the standouts in that group. So there are good things you can get from it, but it really comes down to what the percentage chance is. Like, for the argument's sake, if you had a 75% chance at getting one of those, that would be worth it. If you have a 1% chance, that is not worth it, in my opinion. Like I said, unless you just have plenty of resources to waste, because like I'm just from leveling today down to like 300,000 food. So to save up 2 million for a tiny chance at something and a very high chance of disappointment, it does not seem worth it to me. So yeah, I'm kind of growing disappointed as I talk about this. We'll see what the iterations are now that we've covered the bulk of it. It'll be easier to track the changes the next time that we've gone through beta. So this is what everyone has been waiting for I think over a year, and not so great. I really wish they would expand it to have different options for Season 2, Season 3, and event heroes, since those heroes are much more rare. They should be valued higher, and you shouldn't just be sort of encouraged in a way to keep all these duplicates that serve no purpose for you. So I guess those are their big money makers. They don't want to make it too easy for you to just sift through those pools, because normally you have to wait 4 months and there's a high cost of entry. So I don't know if we'll see that change, but again, we'll cover these changes as they become available. So congratulations if you made it all the way through. This was a long one, but there was a lot to go over. It's fortunate that we didn't have Telluriya Vela drama happening as well, because that would have just made this even longer. I was expecting a new version to drop on Monday, because we're still in a weird place with all that. But that's what I have for you this week. I'm going to try to go back to doing these just once a week, because it is a lot more work. I do want to keep you guys up to date, so I've been bending my own rules in the interest of providing you guys with expedient information. But yeah, we'll just have to see how all this goes as we move forward. So thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like. If you want to see more, subscribe and hit the bell icon. Thank you to everyone who has already subscribed and who watches, comments, likes, all that kind of stuff. It's really great. So this has been Beta Breakdown, and I will see you guys in the next video.